Muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for you guys' words, prayers, and just for everything in general. You do and express my way. I'm forever grateful. Muchísimas gracias. And before I get to the story on hand, I never state, I always forget it. Do please like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. That to me is more important the extension of the message, right? But gracias. Now to get into the story in here again. But I want to continue off on my story a little more, as I want to try to conclude it, as go back and conclude the second parts and things I have promised. Just start giving everything a closing, right? And not bouncing around from everywhere. But anyways, I want to continue on where I left off, right? Which was leaving Sonora, going back to Culiacán here. And basically, to give a little back foot, right? Right when I got away, I had came down to visit. Those were all my times coming down. It was to visit, or my grandpa, my dad, whatever, right? And even though I came a lot, it was always under visitation, right? Visiting. Of course, since I'm little, I assisted. For those that are in touch with me through Instagram and they know that 2 days ago, my nephew, from a cousin from my jefes that live out there in Chihuahua, came down. Well, due to the things that are happening and to support it, my nephew, he was about to be 15, but it was just the way we were raised. He was with it. You know, those could tell you they seen the picture. He's with his AK and 4.5, and he was doing his thing. Anyways, they went out here and well, he didn't make it back. That's part of which we were dealing with that. But anyways, that's how it was for me when I was a kid. Basically it was a lot different though. You didn't see what you see now, which is carteles and all this funny drugs, and usually there was people moving, but they would hire sicario. Sicario was one that a pagan basically, but he wasn't under nobody, right? That came later, and basically when I came down, there was an individual out here. He's gone already, right? But they call him El Gallo from out here, and two homies were with them, you know, and in reality, they're the ones that picked up the trust out here, right? With mostly everybody. They're the ones that opened up that avenue of trust, you know, because they were down here way long before I got out here, believe me. But again, they were hired guns. They stayed away from all that droga. They went in and collected debts, basically, you know. And the first thing I did was report, right? Because it's my obligation as a sureño. And then I got to see O and Mono, the two Pilis, and I got basically guided to what was required, right, or wanting to happen. So I went to the ranch, and not to even say this in a negative way, right? Of course, my deals and act that they told me to basically to join the family, right? There was no need for the others, but I'm not a sidewiner, never been, right? If I give my word to something, it wasn't just a past thing, right? It was, I had to buck up, right? So I respectfully just say, I'm not a ringacharcos. I love you and respect you, but I can't, right? Especially because in reality, I would have never been out here if it weren't for the request to come out here. So basically, I asked, that they uh they allowed us to earn the candy, right, and the avenues when it came to sits in different counties, right, different states, and better prices. Because to be sincere, at this time, yeah, he was doing his thing, but for a chalan, he wasn't like, si comprenden esa parte. But anyways, we wanted a direct pipe to never ending type of thing, right? And that's where the prices are at. So I wasn't requesting or asking anything of the family. I was asking just for the opportunity, right? For us to earn our whatever came our way. Which firmes, right? I had already done a lot when it came to helping out with material, right? And it always got resolved one way or another. And there was nothing bad there at the end of the day. So there was no reason why to know. So the only thing they asked us was to try to get the homie Epi from Bell. Again, that's not his placazo. First, and the homie from Temple, you know, which I'll respectfully just hold on to his name because he was older and his family, kids, and whatever still out here, and you guys see what's happening. And I don't want to put nothing negative out there that's going to have an impact on families because they're funny like that now. But anyways, we went and we told him, and to be sincere, they said, Chales, they were willing to support us when it came to going out to different ranches and guiding us because they were more on the knowledge of certain places, not all of them, but certain places, right? But they didn't want to mess with that dope. And to be sincere, they did their time. They did their thing, and they've been out here a long time. And basically, they had family. They wanted to keep putting that papa in their family, and staying clear from all the extra stuff, which was respected, even from the Pillies. They're going to guide us to certain things, and that's all. So we kept pressing, pushing on, and basically the first request, not just for my family, but was to claim what the winning boy, the muscle, El Mini, mainly, had left behind a lot of armadillos, right, which they were in their cave in different little ranches hidden, and they had been given the opportunity to know a time limit, get your family, you were supporting this cat, and get out of the state. Or, but basically they went out farther thinking it was cool and ignored the or. So, I know it's gonna sound messed up, but we were sent to now touch our hearts for families and kids, just basically individuals that were still there to pull them out and and deal with the situation, right? Again, the two homies that have been on here for years, they had a different mindset, right? That I personally didn't agree with. I understood that we had to take care of business, and I had no hesitation against that, right? Just pick him up, take him, and dome him, and like the best, right? Take care of the problem, but nah. They couldn't. They said it was the escalerita here, which allowed them to guide you to the next man. Then that they no aguantan out here. Not to speak out of pocket, but they're used to talking, right? So you have them and those tres guajoloteras, and they'll uh, they'll guide you. That's what was happening. We took one couple hours, and he would take us straight to the next one, and you know throw out the dead weight, and y así se va. It continues all like that. But you get comfortable. For example, there was one that he bucked up for a long time. I'll just leave it at that. We we sweated right with the individual without getting into details, because YouTube, you guys know. But then he told us about one that had joined that Chapo Isidro, but he was in Wasabes. So we got told and by the homie from Temple and Bell that Wasabes wasn't a good thing, because Chapo Isidro had a lot of gente, right? But we ignored it, and this was something personal with El Gallo, and so he requested for them three to go, and it was me, Pinky, and the two Billies. So, we went in, and the homie from Temple and Bell, they were used to doing things solo. As I would learn, it's actually a better thing, right? You pick up a hyena with kids, and you go in. You have a bodega with a gang of plates from the States that you can fakely put on there, and go in like a little tourist, and be around the target, walk around, and once that he's in this position, then you strike and punch, right? Then a bunch of placazos go in, and yeah, we're gonna be looked at pochos, but by the time there was a lot of people that dislike us here too in the states, excuse me. So, anyways, we went in a pad, and they basically used this pad, you know, para sacar bolsitas, and we went in, we hit, and on our way out, basically they were waiting on us, right? And it was all a setup from the dude we had, right? That guided us there. We're thinking we finally broke the dude, but at the end of the day, the dude won, right? Because he guided us to something that was foreseen by them. In my respects for that, the dude basically didn't go out, right? He held his tongue. And so, anyways, that was a lesson at its own, right? That never get comfortable out here. But anyway, they caught us slipping straight up. And we were, when it came to Pinky, myself, and the two Billies, that was the only thing in our head, to be sincere. Our obligation is, as it always is, right? To shield the Billy. And we were well aware, si caía uno, there was gonna be no hesitation, no recovery. I have nothing, you're on your own. And it was just because the situations that play out here. I know it sounds messed up, but that's how it is out here. And unfortunately, is when the two homies, even though they were aware of not going in there, they still went out their way for us. And now I say us, I was nobody, right? But then they had that respect for the Beatles. And they fell in line as El Gallo, which, overall, I really think it would have been better for myself to had fallen in line there because as we were supposedly getting out of Wasabi's, we got picked up. That's when we learned, well, me personally, right? When it comes to government, don't believe nothing you see. Because we got picked up by Wachos, and they had us for like 4 days. For those that been picked up by Wachos out here, just imagine them 4 days. The food per se that they gave us all day long, every day, was something good. But then they turned us into judiciales in Wasabes, but never on record. They didn't put us on record because they were gonna wait to see if somebody would complain or request of us, and nobody did for a month, and they were gonna take us out. Period. So we had made our mind up, right? But in that wait, we're getting, like I stated before, 3 meals daily, and without getting graphic, a lot of people talk about the chicharra and the twins. Well, that ain't nothing. Palabra, that ain't nothing. They literally have so many ways to feed you, per se, till you pass out. But, those are the times that reality kicks in and you start going off on, I should have, I could have, but, you don't. Because your pride is bigger than your heart, per se, right? Because while you're going through those events, you're aware of the things that should matter in your life, but you're not owning up to it. But anyways, somehow, some way, someone until today, I don't know who, requested of us, claimed us. So we got taken to Mazatlan, and we got put up for we got put on record and everything. You go through the little process of arregado for investigation, but there's a lot of camaradas in Mazatlan talking about something nice, right? And the people they were functioning the most, to be sincere, in there was Chapo and a few for different families, and well, when it came to O and the Pili, the request they gave us is start recruiting for us. You guys know it's basically a power per trip, right? Start requesting, for example. I'm never okay. Like, there was a homie on the yard that had already given his word of loyalty to somebody, you go request him to go ahead and get out of that to come back. I'm never okay with that, right? Palabras, palabra. You gotta respect that, you know. I know it ain't the loyalty we're supposed to do, but you never know what could bring down the future, right? That's just the camarada with Jalisco. But anyways, we started doing that, and there was a lot Aztecas they were bringing in for, or they were trying to bring in for the Beltranes. It was bad. A lot of people don't really give them credit, but what you guys see now was nothing because the Beltranes came with the Zetas. But I would touch on what ended up happening inside that Pinta. We were there for 2 months before, we were able to get out, or they took us out of there. Who, how, where is not important. But because things got ugly, mainly with the Zetas, right? They needed torpedoes that could blend in. But I would touch on that. But the message I'm gonna leave with here is, you know, we go through the struggles, excuse me, of what it is to hold the barrio down. And then it becomes something ugly as we hit the pinta with a whole bunch of lies and misled things going in and fastly. There's a lot of camaradas that go through that county jail in and out, so they're not aware of the doings till they hit the joint, especially now, right? But believe me, it could get 10 times worse. Like I say before, always honor your commitment. If you go in there and you're already there, boot up and boogie, right? Someone said it real good, right? I'm not on here to tell you to not complete the mission, but when you do complete it, don't tangle yourself, as this homie did, with promises of things that in reality is not true. You see, we come down here and yeah, in certain parts respect, but in other parts we go through the struggles, and for what? Value your freedom, value life, period. You don't need to be in a situation to start thinking like, oh, I should have done this for my jefita. I should have showed my kids I left behind this. And this isn't that, because that's exactly what goes through your mind when you're getting torn into by individuals that consider us the worst of the worst out here. Just because we're pochos, plásticos. And at the end of the day, it's for what? Look what the causa became. Us chasing dough for these individuals, putting money in their pocket, or else. Or them telling you the value of your family, your jefita, your kids, to use and abuse that. So yes, complete the mission, but don't turn one situation to a worse one, because at the end of the day, it's for tecatos. They're worried about the pipelines, the avenues to come up on dope and feria. And believe me, you'll still get the same respect we get in the system. And take it from one that I got busted for something good. It wasn't just 287s, it was something that counted without my knowledge, right? It was just game banging to me, but which I did the third one in Corcoran Shoe without mentioning all the others. And at the end of the day, believe me, everywhere I landed, none of that mattered. I had to start from scratch and start building up to whatever. So don't respect someone that minimizes you that much. Most importantly, your family. Stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. Buenas noches.